So like, if your biggest fear became like a entity that tried to eat you, what would that be? Like a gun or like death itself? You know what it probably wouldn't be? A chainsaw. I'm not here to like discuss why the Chainsaw Man is like the strongest devil in the Chainsaw Man universe. I just think it's funny. Like it just is. No, I'm here to talk about how Maki and Denji's relationship is a horrible, horrible, horrible mess. I'm here to talk about how Denji, throughout the entire show, throughout most of the manga, is just a victim of Makima and himself. I think first, to understand why Makima has such a hold on Denji, we have to go back to how Denji was before he met Makima. Now, when Denji was a child, he obviously lost his father. And instead of having a support group there of people caring for him and helping him through the grieving process and showing him genuine care and affection, he instead had a group of mercenaries telling him that if he didn't pay off his father's debt, they were going to kill him. So, from a very young age, the concepts of love and affection were just non existent to Denji. He couldn't understand them because he's never encountered them. These are things that are completely void in his life. And now you might be saying, well, that's not true because he had Puchita. And while, yes, Puchita was a sense of companionship for Denji, and even Denji said that, I think to a degree, why would he complain that he doesn't have things like a girlfriend or money or food when he had Pochita, and he didn't realize it at the time, but it did mean the world to him that he had someone there. But Puchita is not a person. It is, let's say dog. It's a dog. And although I understand how helpful dogs can be towards mental health and companionship, I have a dog myself. He's taking a nap back there. That's Maru, by the way. So I do get how dogs can help and how dogs can get you through very tough times, but dogs are not people. They are not supposed to be a substitute for people. You still need people there to show you what love is, to show you what affection is, to show you what genuine kindness is, to show you what caring is. And Denji didn't have any of this, so it's no surprise that even though he wanted it because he saw other people having it, he didn't understand what it means. This is very similar to how people see dramas and love TV shows. They read mangas that have love themes throughout them, and by people, I mean me. I do this stuff. I love related stuff. But it's different when you see it happen on a screen or like passing by. You see strangers being all lovey-dovey. It's different when it's you experiencing it, because then you truly understand what it means to care for another person. You need other people there to show you, to make you really understand the meaning of these things. And Denji never had that. And I think that him not having this support system and him not having people in which he can actually experience a lot of the joys in life, when he met Makima, which was at one of his lowest points in life, this was right after he lost Puchita, became a devil, and basically killed the only people he ever knew, which were people that were collecting debt from him. Makima came in, and to Denji, someone who already never knew what kindness was, being at this low of a point and someone extending their hand and trying to help him, to him, this was like the second coming of Christ. This was like an angel coming down from the heavens to save him. This was unfathomable. This was so clearly to him, Makima's like this amazing person that can do no wrong. That's just the best thing to ever happen to him. But, the dichotomy of this and what Makima was thinking is just night and day. Makima, by the way, anime only watchers, I'm going to get into spoilers now, so viewer discretion advised. Makima immediately knew Denji was the Chainsaw Devil. She smelt it immediately. She knew what he was and she wanted to use him. She knew how powerful the Chainsaw Man was. She knew that she wanted him under her thumb. So immediately she started deploying these tactics to put him under her control. And I think this goes to show how the eyes of someone in solitude can be so different from the eyes of someone else in reality. Because me looking in a third person view, I immediately saw that Makima was just deploying next level gaslighting to Denji the second he saw him. I did not like Makima for 1 second. She immediately came off as manipulative because that's what she is, manipulative. Am I saying that right? I think I related a lot to this moment because I could see myself in Denji's shoes. We've all had moments where we've felt lonely and we've felt depressed and we've felt like we've had no one. And I can see how if I was caught in one of those low moments in my life and someone extended a hand out to me and made it so they were my savior of sorts, that I would basically do anything that person tells me to do because I was that desperate in my solitude, which most people are. That's what loneliness does to you. It makes you desperate for human affection and human connection. That's why you're lonely. You want these things. So when you get them, you feel as though this is the holy grail and nothing can go wrong and everything's going right. So to be able to see Denji go through this and easily be put under the control of someone else who honestly just offered him basic human decency is a good way to reflect on yourself and see, okay, when am I feeling at these very low points and how are the people around me treating me when I'm at these low points? And is it because they genuinely care for me, or is it because I'm at such a low point that I think that they care for me more than they actually do? And then on the flip side, I'm going to go talk about how we can actually relate to Makima and not Denji, because Denji is just a complete victim. And let's be honest here, we're not always the victim. Like, we sometimes are the aggressor. What would be the opposite of victim? I guess it would be aggressor, wouldn't it? I can't think of a better word. Tell me if you could think of I can't. The scene where I could kind of relate to Makima as the aggressor, I'm just going to call it. God, how do I explain this? It's the one right after Denji copped the feel from power and then was just like depressed because that was his life goal and he achieved his life goal and now he has nothing to motivate him. And then Makima showed him that if you feel genuine affection towards someone else, whenever you do these acts of affection, they feel better. And in this moment, I immediately realized what Makima is doing. She's stringing Denji along and making it so she's giving him basically little treats. It's like when you give a dog a treat to make him do a trick. You don't really want to give the dog a treat because, you know, like if you feed him too much, he'll get fat, but you want him to do what you're telling him to do. So you give him the treat so he does what you tell him to, and then after a while, he'll do what you tell him to without you having to give him the treat, right? By the way, I give my dog treats all the time. You don't gotta worry, but he's a good boy. Regardless of my very stupid analogy, it's very clear that Makima has no actual affection towards Denji. She literally says this. She only cares about the chainsaw. But she feigns affection to get Denji to do what she wants him to do. And that kind of, you know, made me kind of self-reflect on maybe like there's times where I've said or done something and that wasn't my true intention, where when in actuality, I want something else to happen. Here's a very simple, lighthearted example. There's certain times where I would go up to my folks and I'd be like, hey, are you doing the dishes tonight? In like a very nice tone, implying that I'll do the dishes. But because I now said that, they want to do the dishes now. And I realized after a while that, like subconsciously, I'm doing this somewhat maliciously to get them to do the dishes for me. And then I stopped doing it because that's kind of an asshole move. But you see what I'm saying? maybe there's certain times in your life where you say certain things or do certain things with an ulterior motive to string people along to get them to do what you want them to do. And I think it's very important to be very aware of how we communicate with people and be very aware of how deliberate we are with our speech. How specific are we? What do we mean in our heads and what are we actually saying? Does this person understand what I may want for them or what I think they should do? Or do they have a warped perception of of what I want for them because of what I'm saying? If that makes sense. It's just a good I found analyzing how Makima was being very malicious at that moment very helpful towards being more self-aware when talking to the people in my life. Now, this is going to be like real heavy spoilers. So if you weren't worried about spoilers before, this is basically spoiling the end of part 1 of Chainsaw Man. So again, viewer discretion advised. But towards the end, Makima reveals that she's the control devil and that everything that's happened to Denji that is good, meaning like power being like his kind of sister, Aki being his brother slash father figure, and this life that he's made with everyone, it was all built by Makima, so then she could then take it away to break Denji, so then he would fully give in to the Chainsaw Man because that's what she wants. She doesn't give a shit about Denji. And that's horrible, right? That is like the worst thing anyone can do to anyone. It's very bad. But after the conflict is resolved and Makima dies and Denji wins, he still at the end, after everything that happened, still says that he loves Makima. And I'm not here to like rewrite anyone's definition of love. I feel like different people have different definitions of love. I'm going off of my own definition that I think is somewhat universal, but you can disagree with me. So, okay. So to me, love would be seeing who a person is, meaning how they interact with the world and what they do with other people and how other people interact with them, and having genuine care for the almost soul of that person, who they are down to their very core, and you like that, you adore that. I think that's what love is, and it becomes love when that emotion is shared between two people. What Denji and Makima had weren't love, but Denji still says that he loves Makima, even after all these horrible things that she did. I think it is a very warped perception of affection based on of his past relationships in his life, or lack thereof. Makima was the first person to ever show any kindness to Denji, even if artificial, even if not genuine. It was still kindness and affection. It was still a reaching out. And that action in itself, just being the first, made it so Makima is irreplaceable in the heart of Denji. Denji genuinely loves Makima, even though she's a horrible person and did horrible things to him. The fact that she was the first person to show him what it means to show affection, and that way he was able to extend that affection to Power and Aki and these people that he now cares about, it makes it so Makima is unforgettable to him. And I think that is one of the biggest dangers of solitude, where you get this warped perception of affection, and yes, you can get rid of that perception. You can learn to love, you can learn to be affectionate, you can learn to be kind, you can have other people do that for you, and you can do that for other people. But the first is irreplaceable. When you're in a dark place and you're at the rock bottom, the first person to reach out their hand, that fallen angel from God, that person's irreplaceable. And maybe you have a person like that. I know I have a person like that. But we can only hope that that person is good, because if they're not, now you have this bittersweet, irreplaceable part of your heart that, hence the word irreplaceable, won't ever go away. And that is my takeaway from part 1 of Chainsaw Man. Yeah, a bit bleak, but the show is a bit bleak. That's just me on Makima and Denji's. Of course, I have other thoughts on the show. I'd like to talk about it more. I've been on a major Chainsaw Man and Jujutsu Kaisen fanboy like run recently. I want to talk about something in Jujutsu Kaisen. I don't know what yet, but that's been like the only thing in my head for the past couple days. So I'll probably talk about that sometime. But yeah, by the way, thanks on all the support that I've had for the last couple videos. Means the world to me. Thank you for, especially the last video. I was really proud of that one. So happy that people liked it. And that's it from me. I hope you had a good morning.